Assalamu alaikum.
Go ahead, Sister Kalila.
Welcome to Thursday Night Talks. I am so excited. Listen, the list that we got on this show today is epic. Can I say epic? I think it's epic. So, I don't want to even belabor the point. I mean, y'all already know who I am, Sister Kalila. You know, I am not your hostess with the Moses, but your hostess with the Moses is coming soon. I am excited about this show. Hip hop. If nobody do not know about hip hop, they live on the planet Mars, Jupiter, or Uranus. Because this is what we're going to be talking about tonight. Right. One of the planets, right? But we're going to be talking about hip hop, and we have a beautiful representations of hip hop that's going to be on the show tonight. So please subscribe, like, share, get your you get your people, as Brother Tony always say, get your people. Make sure that you are liking and you are sharing, and make sure that this content is in your home.
Don't be stingy. Share.
Yep. Just like and share.
Keep it to all yourselves.
That's right.
Sharing is caring, and it's whenever we are blessed with knowledge, it is incumbent upon us to share.
Exactly. Please. Don't be greedy. Give to the needy. All right.
We are all needy.
Right. Exactly. But without further ado, I am going to pass the mic to my dear brother, Brother Tony.
You want to do the pass the mic thing? You got it. And it's very appropriate for tonight, Sister Kalila. Let me begin properly. In the name of the one God who bears many names, some know him as Jah, others know him as Jehovah, some know him as Dios, some know him as Bon Dieu, some know him as Al-Abdumare. Regardless to the name, I bear witness to the oneness of Allah, who came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, and I am forever thankful to Almighty God Allah for his wise choice, his raising from among us the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I thank them both for the preparation, for the teaching of this most valuable student in our midst today, who is guiding the multitudes of our people. No matter what cultural expression we express on the planet, I thank Allah for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you. Welcome to Thursday Night Talks, which is headed up by the 7th Region Coalition to help save lives. We thank our Student Regional Minister, Student Minister Patrick Muhammad, for assembling us and having us perform this wonderful and awesome broadcast that we're bringing to you here. He is having us work this ministry, online ministry, through the 9 ministries. And the 9 ministries were brought to us by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan at the Millions More movement, which the purpose of it was to bring together the different ministries, the 9 ministries, which tonight we will be focusing on the Ministry of Arts and Culture. All of these these ministries overlap one another, but arts and culture is very, very important, because the minister has taught us that when it comes down to arts and culture, when it comes down to rhyming, if you will, songs, that they are worth a lot more than any sermons that we can deliver. We'll get into that kind of discussion a little later. But the Ministry of Arts and Culture is the promotion of aesthetic, artistic, and cultural expression in a way that facilitates mental, emotional, and moral upliftment of the members of the society. It includes visual and performing arts, including but not limited to music, film, dance, drama, literature, poetry, visual arts, and sports. It includes promotion of theater companies, audiovisual recordings, presentations, competitions, and compilations, and an annual festival of the arts. It extends to a wholesome sports culture for athletic competition and achievement. This ministry, and that is the ministry right there, Sister Kalila.
Yes,
For the same
sir.
thing that happened last week.
It's this. It's
It's all right. But that's the ministry right there. And we look forward to having a wonderful and awesome discussion with. This is a historic night right here with all of the personalities and wonderful believers that we have here on this program tonight, which we're going to be discussing about the value of arts and culture. But not just simply that, Sister Kalila, but I would say this divine culture, as hip hop culture. And when we get into the discussion about what hip hop culture is tonight, then we will have further understanding. But if we limit it to just music and dance of today, we rob the essence of the culture of its true value. And so tonight we're going to get into this profound conversation about the culture of hip hop and where its origins come from and where we should take it from here.
That's right.
And we see Sister Michelle has joined us. Sister Michelle, the hostess with the mostest.
The hostess with the mostest.
Oh, there you go. I finally got off mute. Yes, thank you.
Very
happy to have been able to join. It was a long day.
Let's hey, everything real, Sister Michelle. Yes, and we're dealing with the real world. And so let's get into who our beloved and wonderful guests are going to be on. Who's going to be on here tonight? We are having a discussion about hip hop. We're going to begin with our beloved sister, Arian Muhammad, who is an awesome organizer currently in Phoenix, Arizona. She was born in Peoria, Illinois. She is a lyricist and composer who fell in love with the power of sound at an early age. I bear witness to that. After witnessing the healing effects of music in her hometown community, she desires to pursue life as an artist to help impact culture. Moved by the conscious-driven lyricism of icons such as Rakim, Stevie Wonder, and Earth, Wind, and Fire. You see the diversity of just those three right there. Arian Nicole narrates the sojourn of Black America, combining soulful production with her unique choral tone, a process she began in her mother's living room, recording a cappella melodies over cassette tapes. Sister Arian has since went on to share stages with musical icons such as KRS-One, Rakim, Raheem Devon, and Kindred the Family Soul. In 2021, she launched an annual grassroots hip-hop celebration, which this year we are celebrating the third annual, and that will be taking place on the date that there will be many hip-hop celebrations all over the country on August the 11th, and of course the following day, August the 12th, there in Phoenix, Arizona. We'll discuss a little bit about what the aim and objective of that program in Phoenix, Arizona is about. So we look forward to seeing our sister. We also have B-Boy, A-Tone, also known as Brother Anthony Muhammad, the hip-hop historian. Brother A-Tone was born in Lewis, Delaware in 1969. In 1981, at the age of 12, he was introduced to hip-hop culture by his cousin, a DJ who had cassettes and vinyl from Philly, and his neighbors who were breakers. A-Tone won second place in a break competition in Salisbury, Maryland in 1982. I'm reading this right here to show you that this brother has history. In the mid-'80s, his uncle, a photographer, took him to Eastern Shore Jams, which featured DJ Cruz in dance battles. Our beloved brother has a profound history in the area of hip hop. He was a member of Zulu Nation when he moved to DC. He joined Zulu Nation and eventually was made the chapter leader by Africa Bambaataa. In 1993, while working at the National Endowment for the Arts, he produced and presented the hip hop portion of the Washington Performing Arts Society, Percussion City Dance Festival, and wrote program articles. He also produced the hip hop portion of the 1993 Smithsonian Festival of American Folk Life and wrote a program article. Our beloved brother is also a noted author, writing many articles in the culture. Atone started a family and joined the Nation of Islam in 1994 and organized the Hip in Hop Task Force for the Million Man March. In 2005, he partnered with Easy AD and founded Classic Hip Hop Nation and Classic Hip Hop Radio. AD and Atone curated hip hop culture exhibits in New York City at the Schoenberg Library and the Harlem YMCA. In DC, they produced all ages classic hip hop jams for breakers, one of which was a ladies' night featuring Sha Rock of Funky 4+1. In 2008, they produced a classic hip hop concert at DAR Constitutional Hall. Brother Anthony helped produce the Million Man March, The Untold Story documentary. He was a board member for Dance Metro DC and currently works at the American Alliance of Museums. And he is also a very, very much an active member of the Nation of Islam. He's my brother. I love him, and I love Sister Arian. I love all these believers that are on here tonight. Let's go and continue here. Student Minister Willie Muhammad. He is a native of New Orleans. He graduated from Walter L. Cohen High School and received his bachelor's degree in secondary education from Xavier University. He is married to Sister Michelle Muhammad, and they have two beautiful daughters, Nandi and Azareh. Mr. Muhammad is a gifted playwright. He received the August Wilson Award and has had some of his works, such as A Forced Family Tradition. Just to go a little bit more into our brother's experience, he has an extensive experience when it comes down to hip hop. He has done voiceovers for hip hop albums produced by New Orleans jazz musicians Irving Mayfield, titled Human Beings. He has developed and spearheaded the conflict resolution program, which has allowed him to present and conduct trainings in over 25 cities. He is continually active in the city of New Orleans, building and strengthening the relationships to benefit and educate citizens. He is also the student minister there in New Orleans. It's a pleasure and honor to have our brother here on this program. In his bio, I know he's done a lot more work in the area of hip hop culture. That's why he was invited here. Although it doesn't express everything that he has done in hip hop in the bio, but inshallah, God willing, we'll go into that here tonight. Now we have another beloved brother that is joining us here tonight, DJ Rockwell, and he's also known as Brother Vaughn Muhammad. In 1993, DJ Rockwell served as a contributor to a hip-hop magazine called Street Vibes, named after the radio show that covered local hip-hop artists and events. During this period, he also began learning the fundamentals of music production, being inspired by the style of producers like Pete Rock, DJ Premier, and the Bomb Squad, until relocating to Atlanta, Georgia in 1994. Continuing to perfect his craft, in 2000, he co-founded the hip hop and R&B music production company, Stress Free Productions, working with local and regional artists. DJ Rockwell specializes in remixing popular songs using new and original beats to set apart his DJ set. In 2014, he was selected by Professor Griff of legendary hip hop group Public Enemy to produce an introduction to his popular N. Mendes. And I already know I jacked that up, Brother Vaughn. You're gonna have to help me out there. Professor Griff's Blog Talk internet radio show. In that same year, he began a mixtape series dedicated to featuring up-and-coming hip-hop artists with a positive message from all over the country, giving them a platform to get their music heard. The DJ Rockwell Presents. And our beloved brother has done a lot, extensive work in the hip-hop community. Like this, he's worked with Sister Yonaj Daha. He's worked with Chuck D. He's worked with Gangstar, Too Short, Arrested Development, just doing hip hop DJ sets for these particular artists at their concerts. Bobby Valentino. So our brother has history. He currently hosts the Rockwell radio show, which is a must check out. It airs every Saturday at 7 p.m. And I would say go and check out our brother. He is a mentor, and he works in his community to inspire the youth. We look forward to having a conversation with all of these brilliant and wonderful brothers and sisters here tonight, Sister Kalila and Sister Michelle.
All right. So without further ado, we're going to bring our dear brothers up, our sister up.
There they are.
Hey, there we go.
There they are. There's two.
Okay. Let's see, Brother Willie. Where's my brother Willie?
I got him.
Okay.
There we go. And Sister Ari.
We got a full house.
We do have a full house. I got our sister.
Woo! Come on. Let's go.
Sister Kalila, let's begin this conversation here tonight.
Yes, absolutely.
The reason why we're having this program on hip hop is, as I've mentioned before, we're coming up on a celebration which corresponds to, I wouldn't say the beginning of hip hop, but it marks the beginning of the assembling of these divine elements of what that we call hip hop in an event in the South Bronx on August 11th, which this year it marks the 50th anniversary. And that divine experience was DJ Kool Herc being asked by his sister Cindy to DJ a going back to school party. There's a lot of spiritual significances in that particular event. And so we're going to get into what the roots of hip hop are. And we're going to talk about how they correspond to the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and what we can do today to improve our community through this divine culture. So if you could begin, either one of you sisters could begin with one of the questions that we have.
Absolutely. First of all, I'm honored to be, around, God. You know what I mean? I'm just, I know I'm a God too, but I'm talking about these are like, the hip hop God. So, you know what I mean? Of the Nation of Islam. So I am like extremely honored. But just to bring back what Brother Tony did mention, how did hip hop culture begin? And how was it connected to the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad? I will actually start with you, Brother Anthony, with that question.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Walaikum salam.
First of all, I'd like to thank, you all, the hosts and co-hosts of this incredible, program, Brother Tony, Sister Michelle, Sister Kalila. I'm very honored to be here. So thank you very much for inviting me. So your question regarding the origin of hip hop and how it relates to the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that's a very, very deep question. with a very deep answer, but I'll keep it short from my perspective. First of all, I personally believe, and I said this before, but I'll say it here on this program. I believe that Master Fard Muhammad is the one who started hip hop culture.
Come on.
Major statement right there.
Now, the reason why I say that, I'm trying to keep it concise.
Come on, teach, beloved. Come on.
Is because Allah is one, right? Now, the root of hip hop music goes back to one person, and that's James Brown. James Brown introduced a new style of music that was based on the one count. He moved music from a different count. He had 4 counts, but he went from 2 or 3. He moved everything and put it on the one count. One again represents Allah. So when he did that, James Brown himself said he intentionally did that because he knew that it would affect Black people a certain way. And it certainly did. So what Kool Herc did was he reintroduced our young people, a new generation, to music being on the one count. And then those young people, they exploded in energy, especially the dancers that became b-boys or breakers at Herc's parties. Those dancers connected with that music from James Brown, and then that was the beginning, in my estimation, of hip-hop culture in 1973. And I believe Allah is all up in that. Now, mind you, at the same time, this is in the Bronx, New York. Who was the minister in the Bronx, New York, when hip-hop started?
Exactly.
Minister Louis Farrakhan. Now, also, the teachings were already in the streets of New York. How? Because Clarence 13X came from the mosque or the temple at the time and took the supreme wisdom and gave it to the young people in New York. So they already were familiar with the teachings before hip-hop began. Then Kool Herc said that at his parties, he had what he called peace guards, which were actually members of the 5% Nation that would hold posts at his parties. And they stood like this, like the brothers used to prior to 75, how they held posts prior to 75. That actually is the b-boy stance that the breakers and eventually the rest of the hip-hop world embraced. This pose that came from the Nation of Islam.
How about it?
B-boy stance. So that's just, I'll leave it there for now. But for me, that is a taste of how Allah and the person Master Fard Muhammad brought hip-hop to us as a people.
Wow, that's deep. So all you know where it came from. All right, praises be to Allah.
I believe it came from us, the nation.
Praises be to Allah. All right. So I want to, bring it over to Brother Willie. I want that same question. If you can, expound on that as well.
Well, you're on mute, beloved.
So thank you. Thank you all for having me as one of the guests on this show. And I thank you all for your consistency with what you all are doing with this show. As I was listening to Brother Anthony, it made me think about a section in my book title, my most recent book title, How Could They Love the Fruit But Hate the Tree? And in this book, it is to really counter this effort to write the most honorable Elijah Muhammad out of history. But one of the chapters focuses on the influence and the impact of the teachings on hip hop. And as our brother mentioned, Kool Herc and Afrika Bambaataa, who considered to be some of the pioneers of hip hop, we both know, we know for sure that Afrika Bambaataa has been openly public about how he studied the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And what's interesting, many of the great contributors to hip hop and even some of the greatest lyricists in hip hop, we can make a connection between them and the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Rakim is not, while they're debating whether or not Jay-Z is the GOAT or Drake is the GOAT, is without question that Rakim, also known as Rakim Allah, is considered to be the god of hip hop.
Come on now.
He in one of his most popular songs that broke him into mainstream attention was Paid in Full. And in it, he's talking about how his connection with Islam helped to transform him from being a robber, a stick-up kid, to one now who says he focuses on righteousness. And he is the same one that made a very significant hip hop song. Think about this, a hip hop song that's talking about the self-creation of Allah. And we know that that comes straight from the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. So we can make direct connections and even indirect connections to show the influence. You have Nas, you have Wu-Tang Clan, you have Jay-Z's on a song with Jay Electronica, and Jay-Z says he's here to run Yakub back to the caves. Where does that come from? So we have all of these teachings. So if you look through our history with Black people in America, in many of the most significant historical experiences that we've had in this country, you find the Nation of Islam being a part of it in some way, shape, or form. And the same is with hip hop.
Beautiful.
Praises be to Allah. My internet is. Can everybody hear me?
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay. Praises be to Allah. Okay, so that same question, Brother Rockwell. Chicka.
Oh wow. Yeah. First of all, assalamu alaikum, and it's an honor to be here, and I am humbled and grateful for the invite. As I'm looking at these pictures scroll across the screen, I'm only reminded of the fact of what Brother Aton has already pointed out. A year or so ago, I was honored to have student minister Demetric Muhammad as a guest on the Rockwell Radio Show. And I asked him a question about an article that he wrote some time ago that is featured on his website. And he made this bold statement that I asked him to see if he could back up. He said, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the father of hip hop. And as Brother Aton pointed out, we talked about the environment of New York City circa 1973, 74, 75. And at that time, you could hear the voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan via radio every day. And he seeded the ground with the teachings of freedom, justice, and equality. And that set the standard, that set the mindset and the culture that produced what we now have called hip hop music.
Beautiful. Sister Kalila went away somewhere.
I think she might have. I know she said she's having internet issues, but we can keep it moving.
We can keep it moving. Sister Arian, same. I know you were in and out, beloved. Any reflections on what we've been discussing so far in terms of what the origins of hip hop are, especially in connection to the teachings of the Honorable Elijah?
So what I would have as far as that is the definition of hip hop that KRS-One laid down during a visit to Flint, Michigan. I had the opportunity when I lived out there to open and close the show with him. And he said that hip stood for intelligent and hop stands for movement.
Come on.
Because, back in the day when they say you were up on something, you were hip to it, right? And then, of course, hop is movement, the dance part and what have you, so intelligent movement. So to me, in that definition, I view it as a standard definition and something that we should adopt because it definitely is, an intelligent movement because you have the word over the production, and the beat. And when we look at the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the truth has a rhythm to it.
Come on.
Say that.
And so when we hear it, it just resonates with us, right? Down to our core, to our DNA. And so I would make that, connection that we need to get back to that because our origin, when we come to life, our origin is the truth.
That's right.
And so that is the foundation.
Sister Arian, in the beginning was the word.
In the beginning was the word, yes, sir.
And just in light of what you just said right now, how many of us have heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, his lectures being placed over hip hop beats? It's just like there's a certain rhythm that the minister speaks with that is just perfect to go along with those type of beats. You know,
Wow.
I don't know if anyone wants to expound a little bit about that. Maybe Brother Vaughn.
Oh man, I can't tell you. And at this point, I want to give a shout out to who I'm going to call the progenitors of what we call NOI hip hop, and that would be the Lost Sheep of New York.
Yes, sir.
It
Yes.
was them who I first heard in the mid 90s taking speeches from the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan and putting hip hop beats behind it. And when you were going to hear the minister at an arena or at some venue, you would see the brothers outside of the table slanging and banging with the tapes and the CDs. And when you bought one, when you put it in the car, you heard the minister's voice over some dope beats.
Praise be to Allah.
Wow. Brother Tony, I'd like to ask a question because I do remember.
Please go ahead, Sister Michelle.
Back in the 90s, because I'm from New York, born and raised in New York.
Right.
So I do remember, you know, in the probably the mid 80s, late 80s, early 90s. That's when I started to get into the introduction of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because at that moment there was a lot of people that were moving into being a 5%er, and then from a 5%er, everybody was, you know, either you were going into the nation, and so that's how I started to learn about the minister. But the other question I wanted to ask the group is, you know, how are hip hop origins connected to the concept of the idea of saving lives? But when I remember back then, and I was getting introduced into Islam, I used to hear a lot of things about, you know, putting the guns down, stop the violence. You all remember that. There was just this revolutionary type of movement back then, especially in New York. It was just it was all about, you know, self-love, you know, stop this, stop that. And I didn't realize it at the time, but a lot of that was coming from the minister. But anyway, I just wanted to throw it out. I want to hear from each one of you, you know, that concept and idea about saving lives that we were hearing from hip hop, just how the minister was really, really playing this integral role in all of that, and how he shaped that movement, and why the movement was so strong with the nation back in the 90s. It was very strong. I remember it, but I'm gonna leave it all to you to kind of expound on that. Anybody can take it.
One thing that comes to mind. I spent some time yesterday watching. I don't watch it very often, but I watched an interview that was done on Drink Champs, and they had one of the early rappers in hip hop, Ice-T. And there was a part of the interview where Ice-T began to start talking about how Public Enemy, and listening to Public Enemy and listening to Professor Griff. Right. And he said he would hear Professor Griff expound on stuff, and it made him feel like, damn, man, I got to start reading. But Ice-T talked about how the presence of Public Enemy made him he and others to begin to start adding some social commentary into their music. And he said that it was Public Enemy influence that put the pressure on NWA, that made NWA come out with that one of their most closest to a conscious song that you want to say, called Express Yourself. Right. So we know what was one of the major influences on Public Enemy, right? And so we know what influenced Public Enemy. And then from all of that influence, it helped everybody started, you know, calling each other brother. And then that produced self-destruction on the East Coast. We all in the same gang on the West Coast.
Yes,
because
sir.
At that height in the early 80s, in the early and mid 80s and the late 80s, the pressure, the power of the Nation of Islam was very, very high. And it began to start influencing. Many of us came into or got knowledge of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan through hip hop. When I kept hearing him say Farrakhan's the man that think you need to listen to. I'm like, man, who was Farrakhan?
Come
Right.
on.
Mm.
Watching the videos of Ghetto Boys, and while they were rapping their level of rap in the videos, they had a brother with a suit and bow tie, and I was like, man, look at the Muslims. So it began to start showing our influence and our impact. And as our historian in our nation, Brother Demetric says, he makes the point that this current self-destructive, toxic aspect of hip hop is a direct result of the enemy working to try to counter and stop the influence of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
That's
Come on.
right.
Absolutely. And our beloved brother Nolan Land here is mentioned S1W. There were members of the S1W that were registered members of the Nation of Islam and still are.
James Bond.
Right.
May I add on to what was said there?
Please do.
Yes, please.
First, going back to what Sister Arian said, I think she's right on point when it comes to the rhythm aspect of the word resonating, because the break beats is a rhythm. That's a word as well. Now, going back to Zulu Nation, and I'm a little embarrassed seeing my picture up there with Dougie Fresh all the time, but I was in Zulu Nation at that time, and in Zulu Nation, Africa Bambaataa told me personally that he created the Zulu Nation structure off of the Nation of Islam structure.
How about that?
He even took the lessons. He took from the back page of Final Call, we have the 12 beliefs. He took those beliefs and put them in his lessons called the Infinity Lessons, and he called them the 13 beliefs. He added one more, but they were 13 beliefs. Then there was Islam infused all throughout Zulu Nation as well. I mean, because typically we hear about Zulu Nation being associated with Shaka Zulu and the warrior there in South Africa, but also speaking of Ice-T, I hear an echo from me. But speaking of Ice-T, Ice-T started off on the East Coast, and he was working with Africa Islam. There's that word Islam,
Right.
and Africa Islam went to the West Coast with Ice-T, and that's really how West Coast rap kind of kicked off, because Ice-T was kind of the first major rapper on the West Coast. And so the last thing I wanted to say was, when it comes to hip hop beats with the minister over them, his voice over the beats, I think one of the greatest examples of that is Brand Nubian. They have a song called The Meaning of 5%.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
And the meaning of the 5% is simply the beat that they put together, they produced with the minister, our Minister Louis Farrakhan, describing the meaning of the 5% over that beat. And that was one of the most beautiful descriptions of the 5%, which is really us, the righteous, the poor righteous teachers. Of course, poor righteous teachers is another group that took the name directly from the Supreme Wisdom. So I'm just saying, so much infusion. And then the last point I want to make, to Brother Willie's point, I'd like to add on to that as well, about hip hop and the enemy's attack on hip hop culture. Because the enemy has now made it seem as though hip hop is akin to negative influence or negative culture, when in actuality, going back to the definition, like Sister Arian said, she gave KRS-One's definition, which is, I think, is certainly on point. Africa Bambaataa gave a definition himself. He said, hip hop is peace, unity, love, and having fun.
That's right.
Peace. I mean, of course, Islam means peace. So that definition is what I believe hip hop is. However, the enemy has tried to make it seem as though hip hop is something totally opposite by slapping the label on what they're putting out from the rap industry, which is prison culture, thug culture, drug culture, pimp culture. That's not hip hop in my view. Now, the last thing I want to say on that point is our Mr. Louis Farrakhan, in our documentary that we produced here in the Ministry of Arts and Culture in DC, in that documentary, our Mr. Louis Farrakhan said this. He said, Public Enemy is a rap group that started educating with rap. But it was a conspiracy since they were making money, not compromising who they were. The powerful music moguls that were saying, we've got to buy into rap. But they wanted to change rap into something that would, number one, fill prisons. Prison became big business. There was a meeting I read outside of Los Angeles where record executives were invited to this meeting, but in the meeting were those who were buying prisons. And the talk was that gangster rap, they had to change from edutainment to gangster rap, what glorified the degenerate lifestyle among our people.
Wow.
So I would say to that, so the conspiracy was not to get rappers to glorify hip hop culture. The conspiracy was to get rappers to glorify, quote, the degenerate lifestyle among our people, unquote, which includes all those different negative cultures that I said earlier. So I'll stop there.
Praise be to Allah. DJ Rockwell, Sister Ariane.
I'll just add one very brief point, if I may, to speak directly to your question about changing lives.
Come on.
I just want to remind people what was going on in New York City at the time. We're talking about sweeping blackouts. We're talking about abject poverty.
Yes.
And what we have to think about is what was their outlet? What did they do with all that negative energy when you have no lights, no power, no food? Where do you take that energy? So what they decided to do, call it positive, call it negative, they started looting.
Right.
And they started looting a particular electronic shop. If I'm correct, it was called Fast Eddie's.
I remember that. I remember
Fast
that.
Eddie's is where they had the turntables at.
Yep.
So at that moment, you had an explosion of DJs.
My God.
And because everybody now had top gear turntables and top of the line sound equipment, which led to what we now call the park jams.
Right.
So we're talking about
in
a
1977.
moment in time that some people might have been contemplating suicide. Some people were absolutely at their wits' end. And this was an outlet that served as an absolute method of changing and saving lives.
Brother Vaughn, see, like what you just mentioned right now, beloved, I'm going to go a little deep. See, we're taught that the God created himself in triple darkness.
Say that. Come on, man.
Our people were in a condition of triple darkness, and there they are in the dark.
Literally.
What are we going to do? And so they were extracting in that darkness. I'm not going to say it was done righteously, but they were extracting from the physical environment, and they were extracting within themselves. That's when when they had nothing else to do. That's when they dug deep into themselves, and that's when that creativity came out.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Sister
sir.
Arian, you look like you want to comment a little bit on that.
I want to comment a little bit on that. We could take it back deep. We could take it back to the origin. We could take it back to the spirituals. We could take it back to the blues.
Come on.
So when we go back to the spirituals and you have our people in this state of triple darkness, and then we're singing hymns, Conquer the Lion or Wade in the Water. That was hip hop, that was, lyricism. And there's a book I come out of. We do writer sessions here in preparation for the hip hop celebration, hip hop intelligent movement celebration, not the celebration of what's going on, of course, but in preparation to perform, or if you're an aspiring artist, or if you're, just youth who want to, rap and everything, we created this course, and it's called Back to the Roots. And so our theme is the root and the sound. So before you get a chance to, spit your bars or write or anything like that, we take it back to the root. And one of the books I come out of is called The Spirituals and the Blues by an author named James H. Cone. This book was handed to me by one of our great brothers who was here for the rebuilding of the Nation of Islam in Phoenix, Brother Jackie Andre Muhammad. May Allah be pleased with him. But he put me onto this book. And this book connects, of course, our sojourn in America to, of course, the spirituals and the blues, but it connects us to the scripture, which is powerful, right? Our identity. So when you look at the root of hip hop and you see us in connection with these people who are crying out, right, for the chariot to swing low, right, for the ship to come back to the shore.
Mhm.
And when we connect the youth to this and we say, okay, hey, hip hop is something that is mission driven. There's it's the experience that comes out of our triple darkness, out of our sojourn. So when we talk about the enemy coming in, he came in the same way he did with the scripture, tampered with the scripture. He tampered with our scripture.
Come on,
Come on.
With hip hop culture. And so that's what we want to do. We want to put the youth on and say, hey, this is the word
Come
that
on.
you need to come out of. This is the experience that we need to come out of and take it back.
This is feeling like Thursday night study group right here.
Come
Student
on,
Mr.
man.
Willie, what do you have to say, sir?
It's interesting how I heard a lecture by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and he was talking about why there is a connection, or you can trace the major religions back to the continent of Africa. And he said the reason why you can do that is because that's part of the homeland of the original man and woman. So all of this emanates out of our nature. All of the music that we have, blues and all of this stuff, all of this emanates out of our nature. And we have relied on music to help us to survive this sojourn that we have been put into, right? So and listen to what everybody else is saying, that it's emanating out of our nature. We are naturally creators, man. We put the sun, moon, and star in the space.
Come on now.
So we're natural creators, and the enemy understands that, and the enemy understands its power, right? And so they are working to corrupt it. And it's interesting. We're gonna do something here in the city, inshallah, around the 50th anniversary of hip hop. But one of the points that I want to stress to those who come out to participate is how those of us who condemn the negative aspects of hip hop don't even realize how we have fallen into the trick of Satan. Some of us criticize hip hop to such a degree. If you didn't know any better, if you were from another planet and came here, you would never think that they had artists that rap contrary to that. And some of us have begun to start taking on the enemy's mind and looking at our brothers and sisters in that way, and we forget there's another group of people who rap about something totally different.
Come on now.
But the enemy, I shared this one time during a Sunday lecture. I was asking myself in the lessons, when the Master Farah Muhammad says, and I'm not saying that this is what this means, but here's a perspective. When he says that he challenged Satan, who said to not leave a stone unturned, who said that he was going to kill the messenger of God. And then it says that it's in the 34 problem book. And I kept asking, I'm like, well, where is it? And as I kept reading, one of the things, when you look at the 34 problems, it shows our wretched condition, right? But the enemy also shows our wretched condition. But the difference is Master Farah Muhammad introduced us to our wretched condition after teaching us the body of knowledge that can resurrect us out of that condition. But the enemy, using hip hop, using everything affiliated with it, he keeps us focused on the worst part of our people. So if we stay focused on the worst part of our people, if we're not careful, we begin to doubt their ability to be resurrected. And if we begin to doubt our people's ability to be resurrected, then how can we be helpers of Jesus in this day and time? Right? So some of us, we got to be careful, even when seeing our people, like the minister, he sees the fault, but he sees the need.
Yes,
right.
And if we're not careful with this, because the enemy, he's definitely exposing us and the world to some of the lower aspects of our people. But if we're not careful, we'll find ourselves where Iblis would have a greater belief in the resurrection than you and I. Because when Allah asked Iblis, he said, when Iblis told, look what Iblis told God. He said, respite me not to the day that they are never raised.
Mm.
He said, respite me to the day that they are raised. Now, how can he Bliss have more faith in the resurrection of the black man and woman than you and I, who are direct beneficiaries of that resurrection process?
Man.
Student Minister Willie.
Dropping bombs right now. Go ahead.
I hope the people are listening.
Student Mr. Willie, it's kind of like we're given a picture today and we're being told, oh, well, this is hip hop right there, but that's not hip hop.
Yes.
It's something that has been taken, twisted, and turned and presented in a particular way. Like, oh, here, this is hip hop.
It's something that
But
has been
it's like how they've stolen our history, because the enemy could even in today's time they continue to argue that it was white folks or aliens that built ancient Egypt. But that we will continue to say that it was the original people, the black man and black woman, that built that civilization. But the enemy always begins, when it comes down to the portrayal of that history, at I believe 5000 BC. But they ignore the fact that there were things that were taking place way before that time. There was a culture that was embedded there. There was arts, there was culture, there was mummification that was taking place for, some say, hundreds of thousands of years prior. There was language, written language, that was already present. There was other things that were already present. Same thing with hip hop. The different aspects and elements of the culture were there way prior, even prior to 1973. And so, but here we're given a portrayal of what hip hop is supposed to be by our open enemy, and it cuts our history short. No other people do we experience a manipulation of history in that way, in that particular way, beloved.
And I make this last point, and
yes,
it just
sir.
came to my mind. We have to always remember we're dealing with a person who's skilled at making people and things other than their own selves.
Yes, sir.
Listen.
He's skilled
Come
at
on.
making it other than their own selves, and he made us other than our own self. And if we don't forget that, if we're beginning to start holding our noses shut, we stop smelling the stench of the skunk and start blaming our people.
That's a good point, Brother Ray. That's a good point.
Praise be to Allah.
Praise be to Allah.
Well, that reminds me, I was listening to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan just a minute ago, the lecture, The Spider, he did in Atlanta. And he was talking about how Satan comes in our desires. He comes in our desires. And he was saying the same thing, my brother, you were saying, Brother Willie, our people are good people. Of course. Like, we know that. And the teachers, we're gods, but just like you said too, Satan, he comes in your desire. And what we desire, in the ghetto, was to get out. So you come with, money, these deals.
Come on.
Right. And we sign our souls away. And now we're learning, that, Satan is who he is. The more the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan beats the mask off of him. And, we're starting to see. But at first, we were just, little kids, signing these deals. We didn't understand, about the business, that when they presented a lawyer, we thought it was our lawyer. No, that was the record company's lawyer. This is not your lawyer. You're supposed to come in there, with an entertainment lawyer or attorney. That's the first person that's supposed to be on your team. We didn't know that. So, we got robbed blind, right? Over our desire for coins. And then you don't have the strength or don't know how to get out, but you've been, played by your own desire. And it's up to us, to come and be the watchman on the wall and help our people.
Very, 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 very good point. I have another question that's gonna lead us into really who really is promoting and building. And we know media, or the use of media, all forms of media, has shaped kind of what we have today. But the question is, hip hop today is simply viewed as being music or rap music. It's changed. Can you give us a broader perspective as to what it actually is? Everybody, I would love to hear everybody's perspective on this, but I know I spoke about media first because I know that that's being utilized, right, to their benefit. But so I won't go any further, but anyone can start with their perspective.
I like to start. You mentioned some are saying that hip hop is just rap, right? Is that what you said?
Or being viewed, simply being viewed as music or rap music.
Right. And that is so much more.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd like to touch on something in regards to media, the same thing the minister touched on in regards to the Million Man March. How was our people being viewed around the world?
Mm-hmm.
When the movies Colors was released, Menace to Society,
Mm-hmm.
New Jack City,
Mm-hmm.
movies like that, when they were released all around the world, people viewed us Black men, especially as young Black men, as thugs, as beasts, all kinds of negative things. So it appeared that if you say Black man, that we were that.
Mm.
So the Million Man March was to say, as Sister Arian was saying earlier, no, we're not that. We're this. Look at us at our best at the Million Man March. That's the key, I believe, in getting our people to see hip hop properly, is that those of us that have this knowledge, like Brother Willie was saying, don't sit there and stick your nose up at what you see. You put, like Don Elijah Muhammad said, you don't condemn the dirty glass. You set the clean glass up next to the dirty glass, and then allow the people to choose from which one to drink from.
Right.
And I give us a quick example. We're blessed. My daughter has albinism, right?
Yes, sir.
And I remember there being online on social media, there being an argument between Dr. Umar Johnson and Sarah Sutanseti, and they got really down in the mud towards each other. At one point, Dr. Umar called Sarah Sutanseti an albino as an insult. Think about that. Let's think about this. He said, "You're an albino," insulting him because he was light-skinned. Now, when Don Missiles Farrakhan did the program with my daughter, who has albinism, he said, our people need to be resurrected in the knowledge of albinism. And he went on to explain and show how albinism is from the original. That albinos are not white. Albinos are from the original and came with the original. White people only been here for 6,000 years.
That's right.
See, so the same way that we need to be resurrected into the knowledge of albinism, we need to be resurrected into the knowledge of hip-hop culture, which is peace, unity, love, and having fun via the art of the DJ, the MC, the breaker, the graffiti writer, the beatboxer, on and on. That knowledge has to be resurrected into our people to show us, as Brother Willie said, there's other ways of expressing that are positive. Right. And then let's sit back and watch and see which one they choose from there.
I'd like to add one brief point to that if I can. KRS-One, the teacher, really answered your question in one sentence. He said, rap is something you do, hip hop is something you live. And this very show is a testament to that answer, that we're not talking about music. Music is a part of a culture. And what is culture? Culture is how we speak. Culture is the foods we eat. Culture is how we live, walk, talk, our fashion. It is more than just the music. We can just extract rap and put it on the wall and call it hip hop, we have done a disservice to the entire culture. So what we need to do as conveyors of a culture is keep putting the other aspects of it on the wall. Oh, b-boying is a part of rap, or DJing, go with this. Oh, wait a minute, y'all used to write on the walls back in the day?
Come on.
All of these things are aspects of an entire culture, a way of living, things that we woke up doing, that we went to sleep doing. So we have to be more vocal in informing the upcoming generation that hip hop is not just one thing isolated rap.
Good point.
It's interesting. You know, there, as I've been thinking about this, there is an element of our community that deals in drugs, that deals in gangs and all of that type of stuff, right? And there are artists who rap about that aspect. But what the enemy has done, he has taken that one aspect and he has made that, this is what this is. And that's what, so he has basically taken a behavior and a thought process that comes out of something that he created after slavery, which is a nigga.
Come on.
And he has held that to the standard of, this is what black is. Right. I remember one time I teach in school, a young brother was running down the hallway. He like, yeah, man, Bill Clinton is the black president. And when I pulled him in the class, I had the conversation. I said, let's discuss this. And I wrote on the board. I said, what makes him a black president? Well, he smokes weed. So I say he uses drugs. What makes him a black president? He plays a saxophone. I said, okay, he's a musician. Anyway, he cheated on his wife. Okay, he committed adultery. I said, if you believe that's what makes him black, then what do you think about black people?
Wow.
And see, this is what the enemy has done. He has given us his view of us and said, no, this is you.
Right.
And we in the Nation of Islam and other conscious people are saying, no, man, this is you.
Right.
But because he has the bigger budget, the bigger speakerphone, he got all of this stuff. No, this is you. And in addition to that, he has an ability to reward them very well financially. So in our people's mind, because he's already corrupted our understanding of God, and we equate material acquisition with God blessing us, in their minds, no matter how filthy the music is, they don't see a contradiction because they believe, if this was so wrong, why is God blessing me to make all this money?
Come on.
This is so wrong, why is God blessing me to have not one, but 3 Maybachs? Why is God blessing me to be at a party where everybody has at least $1 million watch on their wrist? But what they don't understand is that Satan is a god too.
Right.
Like in the book of Revelation, he said that the 666 will be on their forehead and the 666 will be on their hands. And if anybody who did not have that 3 6s on their hands and their head, they wouldn't be able to do business in his world.
Listen.
Come on.
So one of the things that what we can do, and I'm interested, I look on social media, especially to see this. I look at the people who are complaining about hip hop, but I also see how they do not share or expose their followers to any of the positive artists.
Come on.
Anytime I see a Golden Child stuff, I'm hitting like and I'm sharing it. Anytime I see a Killer Nihanda, I'm hitting like and I'm sharing it. Sarak, I'm hitting like and I'm sharing it. That's one of the things that we can do in our own atmosphere, right? Spend some time, if you ain't even listening to your phone, go on a streaming, find one of the positive rappers, and while you cleaning up, exercising, you may not even be listening to it. Let it stream to build their numbers up.
Right.
Because that's what we have to do. We have to show people that there is an alternative. Because now remember what Satan tells Allah in the Quran. He said, God, I had no power over them. I only called them and they came.
Right.
That's right.
So right now, people don't even realize we have the ability, for the most part, to say, oh, I don't like that song. Let me turn that off. I don't like that video. Let me turn that off. But some people be talking as if we don't have the ability to go on YouTube and type in the name of an artist who raps more in line with our faith.
That's
You're
right.
right. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Oh, come on, brother Minister Willie.
That's
All
right.
praises due to Allah.
Yeah.
We do have a couple of questions from the audience, dear family. I'm going to begin with this brother here. He asked, respectfully asking, has everyone or anyone read Black Dot's book on the matrix of hip hop? And if you have, if you could please expound on what you've learned from that particular book. I know that Black Dot came out with a series of books back in the 2000s on the matrix of hip hop culture, and as well as some other materials. If anyone could expound.
I never heard of it. I'm gonna check it out after he said that.
Yes,
Thanks for
sir.
the recommendation. Yeah, I'm not familiar.
Yes, sir. I am familiar with it, and I highly recommend that. It goes into the very basic architect of hip hop culture, which is we could take hip hop back to the very beginnings of time. And Sister Arian, just of course, we're KRS-One. I'm not gonna say followers, but that's our brother. And I take a lot of things that our beloved brother teaches, and I incorporate it into what I teach. He said that you can't really pinpoint the origins of hip hop because it's been with us for since the beginning of time. Since the beginning of time, man had tried to make sounds with his mouth and make musical sounds with his mouth. We were clapping our hands. We were banging on things. When we wrote, we didn't write on, this way. This is really indoctrination. We wrote on walls in what we call, what the enemy calls hieroglyphics. We call it the Medu Neter. And since the beginning of time, we incorporated those various elements of hip hop culture. And so that book itself is very, very, very valuable. I strongly recommend it. We'll put it up over here again. Black Dot's book on the matrix of hip hop. There's another question here by Brother Samuel X. In here thinking, how do we reverse this? Do that hip hop will be itself again at a higher level. And with that, I guess we could fuse in some of the other questions that we have for you in respects to we can't just wait on a mystery God to just repackage hip hop akin to our own culture and uplift the community. We have to do it ourselves. And as Student Minister William just mentioned right now, whenever we have artists that are shining and are highly talented and are coming out with material, we have to hype that up as much as we possibly can, because that is just a win for one of us is a win for all of us. But if all of you could just expound a little bit on what we are presently doing in our own respective communities.
Can I kick this one off?
Please, Brother Vaughn.
And I don't want to say this, and I don't never want to insult anybody, but I hope people get the point. We are lazy. We're lazy consumers that have to be spoon-fed every piece of media we get. Brother Willie just said, we're so lazy, we won't even go to Google or YouTube and search for, we're waiting for corporate America to tell us what's dope.
That's right.
One of the biggest joys I get to do as a DJ is I get to present records by Ariana Nicole. I get to present records by Keelan Nahand. I get to present records by Hashim Hakim. I get to present records like Heck of a Mecca to people who would have never heard or discovered them otherwise.
That's right.
Because they don't know we exist. I'll close on this point. A popular phrase is hip hop is dead. That's the biggest lie ever told. We should throw that phrase out the window.
Right.
Just because you don't see it floating on the bottom of your screen on CNN, just because you don't hear it on Hot 101, hip hop has always been an underground phenomenon, and it still is today. Right. If you are hearing it on your radio, it's likely it's been a commercialized, watered down form of the overall culture.
That's
I
right.
want to encourage you, the listener, you go find hip hop. Stop waiting for it to come to you.
That's right.
It's always been there. You'll always see DJs cutting it up on the radio or cutting it up in clubs. Go hear your favorite DJ play.
That's right.
Support the scene, grow the scene in whatever city you're in. Stop waiting for hip hop to come to you. Thank you. Rant's over.
Brother Anthony.
Well, go ahead, Brother Anthony.
Okay. Yes, sir. I'll try to keep it brief. I would say this. I would say to the brother that asked the question, let's study. To go hand in hand with Brother Rockwell said. He's certainly on point. But let's study how hip-hop became prominent in the first place. Let's study that.
Right.
New York City was in gross darkness. Brother Rockwell touched on it, but let's go back. It was the building of the Cross Bronx Expressway by Jewish developers that cut businesses off from traffic going through the Bronx neighborhoods. So instead of going through the Bronx, traffic would go over and past the Bronx. All the businesses began to suffer. The business started laying off people. The people then couldn't pay their rent. And then the landlord said, okay, I'm not getting the rent. I'm going to torch the buildings, and then I'm going to get insurance from those buildings. Then the Bronx became a burned out, bombed out area, right? It was totally destroyed. So going back to the beginning of hip hop culture, you know who started hip hop culture?
Come on.
It was middle school students. It was senior high school students. It was high school students and middle school students. It wasn't adults. The only adult really was DJ Kool Herc, and he was only 22 years old at the time.
Come on.
So everyone else was younger than him, which means that in order to reverse it today, we got to go right back to that same age bracket or even younger. The social media now, people get the stuff way younger age than back then. So maybe we need to go even younger and start with the very, very young of our people and introduce them to the vibration, the positive word, and then mentor them. Chuck D had a conversation with Amos Farrakhan and said, what do you think I should be doing now, Brother Minister? And the minister told him, you need a protege. You as a mentor need to have proteges and bring them up.
That's right.
It's not going to happen by osmosis. We got to go after these young people and bring them up in that way. Now here in DC, what I've done, and I intend to actually bring this back. I had what was called classic hip hop jams, and it was on the same blueprint that Kool Herc did. Because when I was introduced to hip hop in Delaware, there were no MCs. There were no graffiti writers. All we had was DJs. And then my uncle used to take me to the jams, and I used to pop and battle against these other dancers. Well, I did the same thing in DC. I called it a classic hip hop jam. It was all ages. And then we invited the neighborhood to come out. It was on U Street, DC. And we invited people from all over the DC to come. And we had a DJ set up. Oh, I apologize.
Hey, you're the hip hop historian, so the right thing had their ringtone.
Right there. That's the best ringtone.
But we had a hip hop DJ there. And at the door was myself. We had brothers on post, peace guards from the Nation of Islam. And so when people came in the door, they knew what time it was. We didn't have to say a word. Like tell them, no, you better come in peace. You better not smoke that. You better not drink that. They knew as soon as they got to the door and saw what was going on. Let me straighten up. Come on in. Not because we were talking down to them or being negative to them or trying to bring them down. They wanted to come up to what they saw. And then we set the tone, we set the environment for them to have fun and peace. So we can do it in every neighborhood, So that's what I was saying. And one last point about 1977, the blackout. I want to show God how God was involved with that. Allah was involved with the blackout. You know what caused the blackout? It was lightning strikes. Who caused hail, snow, and earthquakes?
Come on.
So it was lightning strikes that hit on what day? July. What's today's date? 14th.
July 13th.
July 13th and July 14th, 1977 is when those lightning strikes hit.
My God, we're right on time.
How about
What
that?
year, what year was it that the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan stood back up?
77.
1970.
1977.
Yeah,
77.
1977.
So it's all in divine order. It's all
Praises be to Allah. And lightning is striking right now, Brother Willie.
They,
Come
the
on.
ultimate way that we're going to need to reverse this is what the Mozambique Elijah Muhammad was told by God is the ultimate solution to the issue between black and white separation. Because we are not going to be able to be healed in the same environment that makes us sick and made us sick.
Right.
We're not going to be able to do it, right? It's interesting. I was studying the body, how it benefits from a 3-day fast. And Allah designed the body that when it's away from food, the body starts healing itself. So when we get away from this force that made us sick, we will begin to start cleaning our neighborhoods up. Because remember, this rap that we talk about, the ghetto rap, the gangster rap, they are rapping about real conditions in our communities. So what happens when we change those conditions? What would they be forced to rap about, right? So we gotta separate. The second thing is one of the things that I do here in the city of New Orleans, we do it every year. We put on hip hop study groups where with those up and coming artists that I can still reach out to on Instagram or whatever, and they'll respond back. We invited them to the mosque. We create a flyer, let them know we're gonna have a cipher. But the first 30 to 45 minutes, we were doing this on a Friday. I wouldn't tell y'all to do that now. I'll do it on another day. A whole nother story. We would have a study group based on the minister's words that he spoke to rappers. I would tell the believers not to dominate the discussion. Let them interact with the minister's words.
That's
and
right.
The minister's words, you will hear them say, wow, man, I didn't think about that. And then the believers were able to share more of what they've heard after hearing the minister listening to 3-hour lectures for over 20 years in the nation. Our people haven't done that.
Right.
Many of them haven't been enrolled in the school of Farrakhan Elijah Muhammad, watching all of these lectures that we have. And then after we did that, we will break out the DJ, they'll get into cutting, and they'll be freestyling. We did it for several years, right? But guess what that would do? That was able to bring them closer to us, and they were able to see us in a different light. And for some of them, that was their first time in the mosque, right?
Brilliant.
Another thing that we have to do is when we see some of those rappers who are rapping the content that we don't necessarily agree with, remember, brother, the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan told Brother Sultan this. He said, brother, look for an atom's weight of good in people. And when you find that atom's weight, he say magnify. Now you can't even see an atom with your own eye. So when we hear those rappers, like Killer Mike just did an album, of course he's using the N-word, but it's way more conscious than these other stuff. He has an album that has the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on one of the songs called Something for Junkies. So when we see them in the right direction, we should go on Twitter and say, hey, man, I love that album. I love this song that you did, and specifically highlight the good thing that they said. Remember when some of the believers were getting upset about, Jay Electronica rapping in a FOI uniform. Go back and study the minister's letter. The minister said, I'm like a proud parent who sees my child taking a walk and they're walking, but yeah, they got a diaper on that's filled with feces. He said, I'm not going to allow the diaper that's filled with feces to cause me not to celebrate the moment that they're taking a step.
Come on.
Come on now.
Listen, in the midst of the Justice or Else gathering, T.I. made a whole album called, I think it was called Justice or Else or something. But how many people listen to it?
That's right.
When we see them take us, even if it's just a little step in the right direction, applaud it like they tell teachers to do. You can have a child cutting up all year, right, Brother Tony?
Yes, sir.
And the minute they do one thing that you told, they tell teachers to make a big thing out of it.
That's right.
You're encouraging that behavior, right?
Right.
And then the other thing is, going back to this, we have to promote the artists within our nation and even outside of our nation that have the content that's in line with it.
That's right.
We have to create We have to create the environments where they can perform. We have to tell everybody when we're in a beauty salon, a barbershop, hey, you heard? Have you heard of Hecka? Hecka
Mecca.
She's gonna be on next week.
Have we heard of
Hecka
Sister Ariane Nicole? Have we heard of Golden Child? Have we heard of this one? Have we heard of our brother? What's my brother name from Marvel? Lord X. I can't think of his name. I follow him on IG. But we have to do that. But this is the other balance of that too. Believers who are musicians and artists in our community have to understand, just because you put the minister on your music don't mean you got a hit song.
Right. Okay.
Because sometimes they're like, y'all not promoting my music. Man, outside of, I'm just being honest, outside of the minister's voice on there, the track is not good. And what you rhyming about is not good.
Right. Right.
You gotta be honest about that. Now, you mad at you condemning us and condemn y'all don't support, but is it good?
Right.
Yes, you put the minister on it. Yes, you get a shot of that. But is that your best? And they gotta be open. You gotta be open to constructive criticism that's gonna help you. Look at Juvenile in New Orleans. Juvenile made that song, Back That Thing Up. He ain't saying nothing. All he's saying is, I can get on there working with a backyard, but the beat is so infectious that people in a wheelchair and they get up and start dancing.
Right. Without the words.
Yeah, without the words. Even without the words, they can get up. So I'm saying to our artists, you got to increase your music.
Right.
Remember, our sister said it's called hip hop. In the end, I want to be able to put some music on that I can bob my head to.
Thank you.
Right.
Come on, man.
So come on, man. You gotta like our brother. What's our brother's name from man? I'm having oh man.
Same thing that happened to me, brother.
What's our brother? He sometimes he does lives with Brother Ben. Oh,
Brother Hashim?
Not Hashim. He can freeze. He used to be rapping. He would always have his suit on. Not Donique.
Young Conda Don.
Young Conda Don. One time, Young Conda Don put out an album. All he was doing was rapping over popular hip hop beats. Have you forgotten? That was your boy who rocked with Jay-Z. I had that on driving my children to school. Whatever we got to do to get the music out. But I always wonder, why can't we, like we have the Final Call Radio, why can't we produce a radio station that just plays our artists?
Which exists, by the way.
It does exist.
It does exist?
It does exist.
Why can't we have a YouTube page that just 24 hours? All it does is shows our artists.
What's the name of it, Brother Vaughn? It is on YouTube.
It is the name of the I'll send a link.
Yeah, the sister that's behind it put a 24-hour it was like lectures backed up by beats by it has lectures by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and you hear beats and jazz and different type of instrumentals behind. And then she did one for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and she did another one for hip hop artists in the Nation of Islam.
Can I make a quick point?
Yes, sir.
Add on what Brother Willie was saying about what makes, the question is, what makes a hip hop song good, right? So again, we have to study, and then we have to apply our study to develop material that becomes good. It's like this: if you go home and you bake a bean pie, it's not automatically a good bean pie.
I bear witness to that one, brother.
There needs to be a taste test, right? I wouldn't mind seeing a competition in the city where everybody brings their bean pies, and then everybody tastes the bean pies, and then everybody says, that's the best bean pie. And everybody supports that bean pie. So again, with hip hop, if we want in the nation to say that my stuff should be supported, like Brother Boy was saying, let's have a taste test. Let's all vote on what makes it the best. And then we promote that. Don't promote it just because you made it, promote it because it's the best.
Talk about.
Praises be to Allah.
Wait, hold on, Sister Arian.
Sister Arian,
come
come
on.
Well, you got a comment
We
here.
ain't heard from you.
You're
I
on
think
mute,
you're on
beloved.
mute, sis. You're on mute.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can't hear her.
Can't hear you.
Oh, she's.
It's kind of like that, Brother Anthony. It's kind of like that battle between Africa Bambaataa
There she is.
Yeah, there she go.
Did she go?
Still on mute.
It's like,
No, she's still on mute.
no, Brother
Yes,
Anthony. I
yes,
know that
she
you
is.
know about this. Africa Bambaataa was DJ battling. Oh my God.
It was
This
Kool Herc.
famous MC. But he was DJing, and like every time that he was playing his music,
Grandmaster
like,
Caz.
right, and like his sound system was not powerful enough, and Africa Bambaataa was saying, we can't hear you. Are you trying to play this? And then he played his music.
And those were
Sorry, I'm sorry for putting you
to
out
that
there.
point though. Those were the original battles. The original
Right.
battles in hip hop were sound system battles.
Yep.
So it was like it was two DJs and their equipment set up in the gym, one on each side, and then they were supposed to take turns and play music, and then the crowd would go from one side to the other. But at a certain point, whoever had the best sound system would just crank up their system and blow out the other system. Everybody would be on that one side. So the battle was won by the best sound system. Kaz, he had a little home system he put together, the house speakers, and Bam had, some nice woofers and
He did.
Industrial strength type stuff.
And Brother Vaughn did find that YouTube channel that we were mentioning before, the Nation Station 193.0. Of course, that means 1913. Definitely do support that station. They are playing music from various artists in the Nation of Islam. Sister Arian, is your sound back on? Oh, Allah, we can't hear.
Hey, Sister Arian, you may have to check your device. Can you check
Maybe.
your laptop?
Does anybody else have them muted? No.
Yeah, maybe your laptop or whatever.
We don't want you muted, beloved.
And then another thing, what we can do right now, like for those people who are watching, we need to go on YouTube and go subscribe to the Nation Station. I ain't never even know
right.
about
Never heard of it
Bingo.
either.
Bingo.
What is
Matter
sister?
of fact,
What is the sister Ariane? What's up? She makes music. What's her YouTube, her Instagram, and all of that stuff?
That's right.
I
I think it's Sister Area Nicole. Isn't it, Brother Tony?
Yes.
That's on IG or Facebook.
She's on multiple platforms. She's
Okay.
on Instagram and Facebook, and also TikTok, and I believe other platforms as well.
Let me
The
see.
brother his name is Daryl D. I see D Allah. He says he's a hip hop artist. We got to support him.
Absolutely.
Sister
Sister
Arian.
Arian.
Mic check 1 2 1.
There we go. We got our sister.
Hey!
Long
Let's
walk.
go.
So I think there's another one too. NOI Chronicles is one. There's a brother out here in Phoenix that has a YouTube that plays Nation
One
on
and the same.
YouTube, NOI Chronicles. And then to brother Anthony Aton's point with points, what makes a hit. So I was told by a brother, he's a former executive for some over at Atlantic. I was sitting with him, had the opportunity to sit with him for about a year. He said there are 3 elements that make a hit. It's attraction, repetition, and memory. So attraction is your beat, your production. It grabs you, right? Within the first 8 seconds, the rhythm has to grab you. Now your repetition, that can be in, songwriting, of course, the hook, right? A good hook just repeats. Doesn't have to be complex. But then, if they walk away and they remember it, it's a hit. It's memory.
Bingo.
Yeah. So those 3 things. So anybody listening, yeah.
I'm telling you, you want to be a rapper, follow those lines. That boom, boom, boom. Because I'm telling you, lately, I promise you, and I'm just being biased, I don't even listen to new rap artists. I might pull one out of the rubble. I hate to call it rubble, but I just have to pull one because, and then, like my dear sister, oh man, such a beautiful artist, Rap City. I mean, but she just got drowned by all of the, like you said, brother, Rockwell, all of the social media are the commercial influence of, just other rappers that's not speaking on nothing. So now you don't even see the sister no more. She's gone. I mean, the same with, our dear brother, oh man, what's our dear brother?
I think all of our minds are going blank tonight.
Yeah, Cole.
J. Cole.
J. Cole. I mean, our brother just was, and then all of a sudden it's like, and then more rubble comes in. I mean, we really have to, like you say, be so intentional in regards to us giving this and speaking on this and teaching on this and, illustrating this and promoting this to where it will become our own again.
Right.
See, we gave it away for money that doesn't mean anything. And we were doing it for the love. Now we're doing it for the money and for some clicks and some likes and some likes and some clicks and some clicks. Oh, I have this many followers. I have that many followers. But what they're following you for? What are they following you to? You don't have nowhere to take them. So if you're talking about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Master Faraj Muhammad, in your lyrics, maybe you could take them to the promised land.
Teach.
With your lyrics. So that's what we need to start exercising in our youth, because our youth is dying from the lack of knowledge, and that's through hip hop.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
Sister Kalila, I'm gonna throw a little prompt before I post up this question.
Yes, sir.
Brother that just asked the question. KRS-One speaks about more than just the 5 elements of hip hop. The basic 5 elements of hip hop are MCing, DJing, breaking, graffiti, and we also have the knowledge, which puts it all together. But KRS-One also goes into the other elements of hip hop, beatboxing, and others. Among them is street entrepreneurship. And our brother here has a very good question. Do we have NOI music management? And I would say, and we could, Brother Anthony, we could also say, do we have, and Brother Vaughn, do we have NOI DJ management? Do we have NOI B-boy management? Do we have NOI art management?
Can I answer that?
Please, Brother Vaughn.
And I don't want this to seem like a shameless plug. But hey,
no, because you got your podcast, you're doing it, brother. Please go ahead.
Please.
We have to avail ourselves to the channels that promote what we like. To answer brother's question directly, some of these things don't exist in a professional way. But one of the things that I've been happy to do for the last several years is put out a mixtape every year promoting all of NOI hip hop artists. And now I'm on 4th series, and it can be found again all on just follow on the Twitter. Follow all my social media. You'll find all these things at DJ Rockwell ATL. But I want to make the point, particularly with what Sister Kalila said. All we have to do is go follow the artist you like. If our record, man, I don't hear so and so on a record on the radio anymore. I don't hear such and such. I don't see them in the promoted materials. I don't see them out front, and we won't. You're not going to hear a KRS-One record or a Rakim record, even if they dropped in the last 3 years.
Right.
KRS has had a record in the last 2 years and he released again. We've got now old school artists touring again. We've
Right.
got classic hip hop era artists touring again.
That's
And we
right.
cannot expect to hear them in mainstream radio. We cannot expect to hear a Sky Zoo or Rhapsody or any of the J. Cole's on mainstream. We have got to, in fact, I'm saying this to make my point even better. What is my man's name that came out with the group is bigger than hip hop? They had the campaign, turn off the radio. Turn off the radio. And I should doggone relaunch that campaign. Turn off the radio. There's nothing of value for you there. We cannot get anything of cultural nurturing, any satisfaction, any fulfillment, any education if you keep going to corporate America to get it.
Okay, now.
That's right.
So I would advise, if you like an MC, if you like an artist, take corporate media out of the equation, go directly to them. That's the beauty of social media. I can follow my favorite rapper, my favorite DJs, and get right from them.
Right.
So excuse corporate radio from the building. But to answer brother's question, those things exist in an informal way. I would invite every artist who's watching this to look on Facebook for the Facebook group called the NOI Hip Hop Network. And what it is a collection of artists from all over the Nation of Islam that trade ideas, that trade music, that promote what they're doing. Oh, you a producer? Oh, I need a beat from you. Oh, you a DJ? Can you scratch on my record? Oh, I need somebody to mix my record. We're all there. We have everything we need. All we got to do is stop waiting for our enemy to give it to us.
You know, Brother Rockwell, I know that the minister one day, he was talking to us and he was indicating about one day starting a management company pretty soon, because he indicated that, we don't know how to manage ourselves, so allow me to do it for you. And I am like, yes, brother minister, manage me. Please manage us, because this will be something that I know for a fact that it will be divine managed properly. So I am looking forward to it, brother. Stay tuned to that, because brother, the minister put it out there and his word is bond. So he's going to be, looking for, artists that want to be managed under his leadership. You just have to know how to be led by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Can I tell a very quick story of something
Yes.
I witnessed with my own eyes? Years ago, I was invited. In fact, Sister Yonaja Halon Wolf informed me that the minister was going to be addressing the hip hop community at a private meeting at the Salam in Chicago. And I got there and they were having this very conversation. The room was full of local hip hop artists, some signed hip hop artists were present in the room. And someone made the exact point that the brother raised about management. And I watched with my own eyes the minister pull out his checkbook and say, okay, well, who can I write this checkbook out to get it started? And everybody said, we weren't ready. We weren't prepared. This is why the NOI Hip Hop Network exists. That we can begin to organize. So when the money does come, we have a plan of action.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
In regards to us taking the initiative, like NPR Tiny Desk has become a thing now, right? In essence, it's just some artists that they bring up. Why, in this age of with this modern technology, what's stopping the artists in our community to organize, and they can charge a fee or whatever, where, hey, on August the 25th, I'm going to have my online performance. You can pay here. You see what I'm saying? To begin to start building that. Like, what's stopping us from doing that? Like here in the city of New Orleans with our Ministry of Arts and Culture, I always be trying to tell them like, yo, just do something.
Right.
Like sometimes we
Yes,
get
sir.
into this paralysis by analysis.
Mm.
Come on.
Like
Come on.
everything, like it got to be so perfect.
Right.
It got to be so perfect that it never happens. And for those of us who are not artists, I don't know if you messed up. But just get out there. Like what? There was a brother in our city. I talked to him. He actually did this. He found an online service. People had to buy their tickets, and he came on and performed. We saw it taking place. During the COVID shut-in. What's stopping? Brother, not at you, brother Vine. But what's stopping our DJs every 2 weeks? Hey, on this Friday, on this Saturday night, we're gonna have a music thing. Muslims,
Right.
I know, like here in the city of New Orleans, music is so intertwined. It's like, man, this is the number one ministry we need to have up and running, the Ministry of Arts and Culture.
That's
But
right.
the thing is, what we got to get past. We got to get past the cheerleading and encouraging the minister, and don't realize that he is building the ark and he's called us on.
Come on.
I was in a hotel with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, me, Brother Robert from the regional minister, Brother Abdul Halim from Houston, Brother Robert from Austin. Brother Robert was sitting directly across from the minister, and the minister, they had just became a mosque. The minister said, "Tell me about yourself, brother." He started telling the minister about himself, how his children, even though they were like 13, 14, 15, they were like juniors in college. And the minister asked him, he was like, "How did that happen?" He said, "Were they homeschooled?" He said, "No, brother, they were only homeschooled for a year." He said, "But me and my wife, they were asked to be a part of this independent school system in Austin, so they had control over the climate, right?"
Mm.
Brother told the minister, he said, "My wife took to heart your teachings about how to give birth to a God." And she really did it. And she wrote a book. But listen to what the minister told him. The minister said, "I had been developing that lecture for some years before it came out." He said, "Allah is always revealing through me good ideas for us." He said, "The problem is it stays in the idea stage because you all don't take nothing to do." He said, "You all don't take them and do anything." Now check this out. For all of the believers that are on here right now, go and pick up the Supreme Wisdom lessons. Go and read problem number 13.
Come on.
Many times the God uses the word you or derivative of the word you. After learning Islam, you must secure some benefit while you live. You must do this. You must sit yourself in heaven at once. And listen to what the God says. He says, sit yourself in heaven at once. That's the greatest desire of your brother and your teachers. Meaning they're not trying to sit back and God got to do it all for us. The minister and the messenger got to do it all for us. He wants to sit back. They want to sit back and applaud us and say, look at them showing us what they have learned. Some of us never get past the on your ready, get set, go stuff because we're looking for attaboys. The minister to mention us on a Wednesday night webcast. We're waiting for Brother Ishmael. We're waiting for somebody to acknowledge us, put it in a Final Call newspaper. No, go and do the work.
That's right.
Come on, man.
Go and do the work. And if we do the work, that's gonna come.
That's right.
That's right.
It's like we got all these people. Who gonna do it? Who gonna do it? Why not you do it?
Listen.
That's right.
On that note,
Yeah.
because we are approaching the next hour, and eventually we're going to have to do a part 2 with all these wonderful believers here.
Absolutely. We
Yeah.
have to.
We're going to have another group of believers next week speaking about hip hop and its value. But we want to get into a discussion now as we're closing about what we're presently doing in our communities right now through arts and culture, through hip hop, and where do we take it from here? What programs, what plans do we have in the very near future?
Well, family, I would like to say, wonderful. I mean, just such inspiring discussion this past hour. Like, I'm amped up. But
we're approaching the second hour, Sister Ari.
I mean, my God. So we out here in Phoenix, we have our LLC up, and we have a couple of ministries up, like Ministry of Agriculture, our Ministry of Trade and Commerce. We have a bookstore, the only Black-owned bookstore in Arizona, and our lot hold about approximately maybe 400, maybe 400 to 600 at most, if you count the street in the back or whatever. And so out of this bookstore, of course, it's our own venue, right? Mm-hmm. So within it, we prior to this hip hop celebration that's coming up, we will hold monthly tiny cafes. We're going to resume after. So we're going to do that, Brother Willie, with the live stream, and you can pay to watch an artist and whatnot. But I felt it in my soul, because when I joined the Nation of Islam, I already made it up in my mind. As a child, I was going to join as an adult. But when I became an adult, running around wild, what got me was when the minister said, I think it was the 2005 Millions More Movement, when he rolled out the ministries and the nation building, and that we need a ministry of arts and culture. I said, we are establishing a world. Islam is a way of life. It is a new world coming in. This world needs institutions. And it takes a while. You got to get the foundation up under you. You got to get the skeletal system. Then you get the muscle, right? You know what I mean? And you start learning. So by the grace of Allah, we want to use the institution that we have, to help cultivate artists. That's my passion. Artist development. To teach you things like repetition, right? Is what it is, right? This is how you take that song and you make it memorable. And then we have a platform that we can put you on. You can come and practice. Don't be afraid. You have to step out. Like, I understand what Brother Willie's saying. That's why it hit me in my soul. You can be afraid. You can stand still. Or you can say, listen, I'm going to take this course, learn how to plug these cables up. Look, we building the studio out here.
Come on.
In this plaza.
Come on.
Brother, for the hip hop celebration, is building a stage. Because we put our niggas, and I was like, can we rent a stage for $800? Brother, look, I'm going to build one.
I know that's
we're
right.
We're going to put it in the lot, right? So, we're building this thing. So we got multiple Black-owned businesses supporting. So it's a community thing. We're going to have the babies coming, rent the swamp coolers, because it's hot in Phoenix. Look, 100%. My phone kept shutting off because it's hot, y'all.
Oh, wow.
It's hot out here. So my phone kept overheating and it kicked me out, so I could get it. But yes, we have the swamp coolers in the parking lot, and providing that platform for artists where we say, oh, ain't no conscious artists out here in Phoenix, some people say. I'll tell you this, there was a brother who said, I heard you putting on the celebration. And he said, I'm going to be honest, my lyrics are vulgar. Like, my stuff is what's out here, what you hear with Juice WRLD and Amigos and all this kind of stuff. He said, so can I perform? I said, no, sir, you can't perform. But here's what you can do. You can come to our writer session. You can hear from the works of Langston Hughes, Tupac, Brenda's Got a Baby, all this kind of stuff, and work with our producers. And then what you are inspired to come up with in that, you can perform that at the festival. He was there. Okay. There with his pen and his pad. He called me a week later and he said, this is my first time writing a piece of this nature. This is my first time. And so now, when you create the platform, they will produce what it takes to get on the platform.
That's right.
You're providing a platform. And so that's the beauty of it. And that's what, I hope, that the nation can tune in. If we're not, doing anything on August 12th, that's Saturday, August 12th. We'll strive to have a live stream of what's going on, because we're going to have a conversation of ownership of our narrative. I'm gonna keep it 100 again. There is somebody else doing hip hop celebration, but it ain't us.
Right.
Come on.
It's not us. And I said, we can't just stand here and let that happen.
Right.
Right knows it. So I said, we'll take our sticks and our stones. It ain't, and do what we got to do. Because the minister, we can't put it all on him.
That part.
Sister Arian, if I may say this, because you incorporate a lot of youth in your programs. Minister Willie, you made me think of something that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said in respects to the youth. A youthless movement is a useless movement.
Ooh, that's
Everything
cool.
that every way that we can utilize the youth, we got to incorporate them into everything that we're doing, program-wise, and nurture them and find some kind of way to get them to participate. Like that student in class that keeps messing around, you find them. You find something for them to do and make them feel validated and feel good about themselves. And that's the way that we have to do it if we're to be successful with our youth. Programs.
One of the things, we are trying to. I spoke to Brother DJ Vaughn about the possibility of getting them down. We just got to find the finances to do so. But if not, we're going to do that hip hop cipher and study group again, in addition to some other stuff, make a weekend events. But remember, Brother DJ Vaughn, we did a hip hop study group online,
and it was dope.
I was sitting here thinking, I'm like, man, we need to get together. Maybe we talk tomorrow. We do it again where we had a questions, people can chime in. And then we had it where it will cut to various artists in our nation, and they were able to perform.
That's beautiful. Incredible.
Get creative.
Online, we can have people from all over.
Crazy to alive.
Wow.
I just want to take a moment to really applaud Sister Ariane and her husband, and the movement they got going on in Phoenix is strong. I can't point to anybody else that is out leading the way and actually making things happen. The story she just told, I heard her tell that story before, but hearing it again inspired me to point out that is a perfect example of how you teach and train. The story she just told is, I'm going to call you up to the standard. He set the standard and he came up to the standard.
He did.
So that's why the minister said he is the criterion.
Come on.
We have an opportunity to be cultural criterions.
Yes.
And call people up to the standard.
Yes. The babies, they're struggling. You can see we just got to be straight up. The physical appearance and the stress that's on their faces in their teens from the drug abuse, and then listening to their favorite rappers who are telling them this is the way, and then I'm coming into this as a mother too. I have all boys. Some of them scroll YouTube and they see that, and they see the lyrical prowess of these brothers who's in this druggist culture. And I kept my sons from that rap music for so long. Like they didn't even really know. I'm into rap, and they didn't know nothing about rap. People look at me like, your sons don't know about this. No.
How about that?
They didn't. But I made a mistake. Now they went to classical, they went to other things, but when they did get a taste, they got a taste. You see? And so now I'm like, oh, heck no. We going to this conference center, we renting it out, we bringing all the babies, we're gonna get it right. Because
that's right.
Go down this way, And so, but you're right, a youthless movement is a useless movement. And Brother Bob, thank you so much, because we, struggling to put the word into flesh and live your life that way, the enemy's world don't support that. None of these four corners of this world support that.
Right.
Struggle. Brother, we struggle. And it's only out of love. I can only depend on the love of the people around me to make this successful.
That's true.
But the minister said, we don't love, we ain't going to have nothing.
Nothing. Nada.
My heart is open. So I'm excited. And I'm ready for us to do, what we have to do to lead the way.
Well, I applaud all of you. I think you're doing wonderful, and I think that you're doing
Yes.
what needs to be done. You promote, you uplift, you elevate, and you promote.
Allahu
That's it.
Akbar.
That's the only way it's going to happen. And you're right, Brother Willie. If you can talk about it, and all you do is talk about it, and you don't make nothing happen, nothing will happen, and you'll just have an idea and won't go anywhere. So
May I
that's
do a shameless plug for a second there, since that graphic is so the two things I wanted to mention. One is I, along with Easy D, the Cold Crush Brothers, we created an online radio station called Classic Hip Hop Radio, and the link was just up there. So hopefully it'll be put back up. But if you on your mobile phone, you can download the app called Radio Garden. It's called Radio Garden. And then once you download the app, if you search for Classic Hip Hop Radio, then our station will appear there and you can listen to the station. So that runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And what it does, it gives you the essence of classic hip hop. You know, granted, there's some parental advisory aspects to it, but most of it is clean. So I just wanted to make sure I put that out there. The second thing is, the Ministry of Arts and Culture in DC, we did the Million Man March Untold Story, which features Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan. We're working on Volume 2, which is called
Praises be to Allah.
Right, which is called the Million Man March, the Untold Story, the War on Hip Hop and Black Youth.
Mm.
So the second link actually gives you the link to the original Million Man March Untold Story, which is streaming exclusively on Quali TV, which is a Black-owned, woman-owned platform, similar to Netflix, but this is owned by a sister. And that link will take you to how you can rent that video, or you can subscribe to the platform and watch that video along with other programs on that streaming platform. So I just wanted to share that.
Praise be to Allah. And also, too, I'm going to share what you had mentioned earlier in the show about your tweet to Killer Mike. So I'm going to press send here and get that out there just in case they want to check out what you mentioned.
Yeah, I put that tweet out because Brother Willie mentioned Killer Mike, and I put that tweet there to show that I actually tweeted it out and told people to listen to, you know, that song, because it did feature the Minister Something for Junkies.
While we're on it, it didn't air in this edition of the Final Call, but I think it's going to air next week. I had the opportunity to interview him for the final, a very powerful interview, and inshallah, we will air it. There's supposed to be read in the Final Call, and then we're going to probably air the actual video as well after we edit it and everything. Very powerful.
I definitely saw that.
Special shout out to Sister Starla.
And
Special shout out to Brother Naba.
The good thing about a song like that, that the minister gets royalties off of that. Y'all know that, right? So if they just somebody slapping the minister's voice on there, and
come on,
the minister don't get nothing.
Come
He
on.
actually gets writing credit for those songs that he's featuring.
Praises be to Allah.
The minister's voice has been the most sampled voice in hip hop.
Think about that.
Hands down.
Hands down. All
Praises
right.
be to Allah. All right, but Sister Michelle, can you do our tree of the week?
Yes, I can. You want to bring it up, or you just want me to read it, or?
Yes, I can make an attempt to bring it up.
You can. So we do the tree of the week, audience, and usually Sister Kalila does the beautiful tree of the week, but I will do the tree of the week today. And really all it is that we're talking about positive hip hop music, positive things that come out of hip hop music, which is what it really does to the body and the mind and the spirit. So there's so many aspects of it, but I'm just going to call off a few. So I know when I listen to it, it's very therapeutic. I just want to say that. I just get into my zone and I just zone out. But anyway, so the first thing is it improves cardiovascular health. There's a lot of studies that have found that listening to hip hop music can increase cardiovascular endurance. And so, you know, I know when I'm out walking or running or whatever I'm doing and I have my music on, I zone out. It's a wrap. I'm done. I'm into the moment, and it just intensifies my workout. That's just me. The next thing it does, it reduces stress and anxiety. Positive. Okay, let's talk about the positive because it can do the opposite depending on what you're listening to. But
Right.
music has long been used as a tool to reduce stress and anxiety. You listen to it during the day at work. So, and hip hop music is no exception. I will have mine on the Fuji radio all day. That's just me. Promoting positive attitudes. Hip hop music is often associated with themes and social justice, is what we're talking about with the minister, self empowerment, and community, which can contribute to the more positive outlooks in life. And it also shows, too, with the positive side of it, if students are listening to hip hop music, there's a kind of a reported higher levels of self esteem, just making sure the right thing is going in that ear. And they're more engaged in more pro social behaviors compared to those that don't listen to the kind of the positive music that goes out there. And lastly, it encourages movement and physical activity. Again, I'm all day. You will hear me moving, and if you catch me or my children catch me on video, it's a wrap. But anyway, I utilize it all the time. But many hip hop songs have fast, energetic beats, and they encourage movement and physical activity. Dancing in itself to hip hop music has shown to improve balance, coordination, and overall physical fitness. But anyway, all of that, the movement, all of the positive things that you're listening to with your mind and the body, and even the spiritual point that the minister brings to it, it just really, really, really is a benefit. But that's our tree of the week.
Thank you, Sister Michelle.
Very welcome.
Beautiful. Well done.
Praise be to God.
All right. So we're going to have some brief closing remarks. We're going to actually start with Brother Anthony, and then we're going to go to
Probably to the left and
left.
To the
Okay.
left.
I was just saying, in closing, first of all, thank you again for inviting me. I'm definitely honored. It's been a pleasure. This is an illustrious panel. So I'm looking forward to checking up on all the projects that we're all involved in. And I would just say this, that in the Torchlight for America by Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan, he said that art is the vanguard of social change. Mm-hmm. So if we really want to make an impact and affect the youth that we were talking about, art has to be, what we utilize to implement those changes. And then again, I personally am taking on the responsibility to become a mentor to youth that are coming up, that I would like to drink from that clean glass that we're displaying tonight.
Yes, sir.
So it's a personal challenge for me to do that. Go in my neighborhood, go down the block, talk to the young brothers and sisters. And by the way, a lot of people don't realize a lot of the youth that we're talking about from the early days of hip hop, there were a lot of sisters that were there.
Oh, right.
So
right.
some of the breakers actually were female. I mean, I'll name them. Sister Boo was one, a sister named Doozy. You don't know about these names, but these are sisters that were breaking early on, in the 70s. So there are sisters today that can also do the same. So we want to encourage our brothers and our sisters to get involved in this positive movement that we're talking about. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Brother Vaughn.
Firstly, let me again say thank you, Mighty Seventh Region. We appreciate the work that you're doing. Keep up the great work with setting the standard and lifting the criterion high, artistically to what our people can aspire to. I would just say, again, join us every Saturday. If I can just plug the show.
Please.
Every Saturday on YouTube, you can find us broadcasting live. The name of the channel is the Rockwell Radio Show. And the purpose of our show is to combine the love of hip hop and with my love of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And what that has done for the last 2 years is produce conversations and interviews with people from across the spectrum who are using hip hop to change lives. And I would just simply close by asking the viewer, don't be lazy. Go and find and support, buy tickets, buy music, stream the music, go to their shows. if you want to see a change in hip hop, first thing you got to do is find what you like. So often we end up posting and putting pictures of what we don't like.
Right.
How about sharing what you do like? We complain about how someone ain't got on no clothes. Share what you do like.
That's
And
right.
people will eventually begin to say, oh, I didn't know about this. And you just started a snowball rolling. But an artist that you simply just hit share, hit like. And that's what you can do to help us and other artists like us. So again, we thank you. And again, continue to support great hip hop and great music.
Thank you.
Brother Willie?
So I thank you all for this show. I thank you all for continuing to put the effort out in regards to this, to the ministries. And I would just ask that those who are watching, go follow, go share some positive artists tonight. Go start a discussion. After you get off, go start a discussion on your page, not talking about the negative aspect, but promoting and informing people about these artists that are not out here getting the publicity that they need, but have the content that we agree with. Go follow Sister Ariane Nicole. Go follow Brother DJ Rockwell, all of our artists.
Praise God. Thank you.
Sister Arian.
Yes. Oh, praise be to Allah. Thank you all for this show. I hope to work with you all in some way. I want to break a record on DJ Rockwell's show. We got to get together. We got to break a record. I'm so serious. Yeah, so thank you. And there's one thing the minister said. I was watching a YouTube interview. If somebody knows what it is, he was sitting down with a brother. It seemed like he was from overseas, and he was talking about his music. And I haven't seen the video in over 10 years. But one thing I remember was that he said music was intelligence through a pure heart.
Good one.
He said that is what music is.
Mm.
And so it's definitely a tool we can use, to uplift and raise our people. And I think collectively, the Ministry of Arts and Culture is a major key. And another thing I forgot to mention is Brother Tony will be with us August 11th through 12th.
Go ahead, Brother Tony.
He'll be with us.
He gonna bless the mic.
I wasn't going to say it today, Arian. You had to say it.
Brother Tony gonna bless the mic. Brother Tony gonna bless the mic.
Yeah, he's
think
going
I
to be on the
will.
panel discussion. Yes. Giving the perspective, because we're highlighting the Nation of Islam's influence in hip hop culture. So, so thank you again, family.
Oh, can I say one more quick thing? One more quick thing. If I can please add, I want to shout out Big Dave C, the producer of the Rockwell Radio Show, about breaking records. I get no bigger joy than playing your records when I'm out in public and having somebody come up to the DJ booth and saying, yo, who was that?
Right.
We need, Brother Vaughn, we need more moments like that, because even when it comes down to DJing, commercial DJing, there's been like this thing in the past 20 years. See, there's been a change in the culture.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to play what's familiar versus let me try this audio. I'm going to break this record here. I'm going to play a song that they've never heard before. I'm going to get them all on the dance floor. Watch.
Hip hop is about taking risks. As a DJ, when I play a record they never heard before, I risk the chance of clearing the dance floor. But if it's a record I believe in, I'm going to take that chance.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna send you my my son-in-law's information, because baby, I believe in him.
I'm gonna tell you a quick closing story. Did you all see that brother a few weeks ago who bust that rhyme for KRS-One and blew the whole world's mind?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Y'all saw that brother, and that brother, I played one of his records. What's that? Say again?
He was breaking down the number 9.
Do y'all know how viral that went?
Yes.
Using the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, where you blew KRS-One's mind, and every major hip hop blog in the country covered that brother. Wow. I called him on the phone and told him, brother, do you know the impact you're having? before all of that happened, I was at a set and I played one of his records, and people came up to me like, "Yo, who is that?" There's no bigger reward. All we got to do is drop the needle and take the chance.
There you go. There you go.
Praises be to Allah.
Thank you for sharing that. I know. I mean, for those that are listening, they may be inspired and may really think about doing something. So that's inspiring. So praise be to Allah.
Well, praises be to Allah. You can follow every single one of our guests on all platforms, right? All platforms. Please, please, please. You know, again, like she's pump, share, like, you know, and let's build our own nation within this nation. Because this nation is going to fall and we're going to stand. And what are we going to stand with? We're going to stand with each other in unity.
Yes.
All right. So we're going to end this show. You have something to say, Brother Tony?
We got part 2 coming up next week. We're going to have Brother Hakeem. We're going to have Heck of a Mecca. We're going to have Gat Turner next week.
Heavy hitters.
Among others.
Heavy hitters.
Tune in.
Oh, and also as well, we have to promote our international training conference.
This
is very, very important.
Go ahead and put that up on the screen.
Yes, sir. We definitely need to definitely support this conference. This is a conference that is for everybody, not just for the Nation of Islam, but for everybody. This is for security, awareness, focus, empowerment, training, and your survival. Like, you know, like Minister Willis said, you know, about the supreme wisdom when it says you and your survival. I have been to this training conference and it has changed my life as it relates to security mindedness.
Just your viewpoint.
Just all viewpoints. And
it changes.
It does. It definitely changes things. Please, please, please register. The tickets are going fast. The registration will actually be up until the last week.
22nd?
Yeah, the 22nd. Yes. So please register for this conference. Listen, I understand that money is tight, but this conference is right. So please register for this conference.
Sister Kalila, please also mention the artists.
Yes. So I don't have all the artists.
That's okay. Just in case you all don't know.
Yes.
There's going to be a performance on Saturday, and it will feature some of the artists that we're going to have on the show. So
yes,
that's
absolutely.
another incentive. It is on the website, so I just want to make sure we threw that out there. Grandmaster was like, we need to make sure that they know about that. So
exactly, absolutely. So I am encouraging you because last year I think they had like a banquet, but now they're doing like, hey, they said they want to have fun. You know me,
it's a full-fledged concert.
A full-fledged concert. So it's going to be nice and it's going to be lit with important information that you will have to actually be able to actually, how can I put this? Instill in your mind and share with the believers who would not be able to make it. Because again, we're at war. And this information that we need to share amongst each other so we can get prepared for the war to come. So we're at war. We're in the war right now. Right now.
The war of Armageddon is now.
Right. The war has begun. So definitely, I encourage you to definitely register for the conference. And if you do not, and if you know people that's going to the conference, encourage them and support them. Hey, here go $50. I can't make it to the conference, but here's $50 for something. Here's $50 for this. Support the people that are going to the conference as well. That's Brother Tony.
No, I was gonna say with that concert we have Akila Nahanda.
Yes.
Performing. We have Heck of a Mecca, Brother Hashim. I believe Golden Child will be there as well. And Strafe, talking about the old school, Strafe will be there. And
classic.
For those of you who don't know who Strafe is, that classic song which just goes, Set it off, I suggest, y'all.
Hey, that's right.
I'm not
No
gonna
party's a
start
party without that record.
Come
Right.
on now. Now that, Brother Vaughn, you know about this, beloved. When it was time to take a bathroom break or something, like that extended version of song, just like Trans Europe Express.
Oh,
Play that song. I need about a 10-minute break. I'll be right back. Those were the records to play.
Praises be to Allah. Well, we're going to close, and we want to again encourage you to please help a sister out. Help a nation out.
Support. You're laughing, Sister Kalila. Yeah, the rent was due.
The rent was
due.
The rent
Really
was
yesterday.
due. Listen, it
The
is
rent was due.
real. It is real. If you like this content and you like the people that we are bringing on, the sisters and the brothers that sharing this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding for us, please support us.
Make a generous donation.
We're supporting you.
Put
Support
5
us.
on it, but don't sing the rest of the song.
Put
Just
more
put 5
than
on
5 on it, Brother Tony. We listen. Yesterday prices is not today prices.
No,
We
say
need
that.
more
put
than
10
5.
on it if you can.
So please, we encourage you to please, just
Support,
cash up us and support us, and we definitely, truly will greatly appreciate it.
We're striving hard to bring you quality programming that is oriented and designed to save lives, dear family, and we appreciate every nickel, penny, dime, any kind of donation you're able to make. We are truly grateful.
Praise be to Allah.
All right. Well, we're gonna close out. Brother Tony, can you close us out?
Be tuning in next week, same bat station, bat time, not bat, but anyway, that's what the old phrase. Should we do the Brother Lyle? Let's do the Brother Lyle. We're not a clique, we're not a crew, but we are the
Seventh Region Coalition.